What up, y'all? What up, y'all? We live. We live. It's time for the boxing talk. It's 1:50 in the morning. We late birds, man. We stay until 3, 4 in the morning talking about boxing. That's what we do. That's what we do. We got a lot to unfold, Over the weekend, we had we had a mega fight. We had a supposed mega fight. Over the weekend. It turned out to be one of the biggest dud fights of 2023. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into everything. Don't worry. Hold on. Let me roll up. We got to talk. We got a lot to unfold, y'all. Man, we got a lot to unfold. Let this bitch marinate for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Roll up a little bit. End of the day, Charlo is a punk for running the whole fight, man. We gonna get into details. We gonna get into the details, man. We gonna talk about Canelo's next opponent. We're gonna talk about Benavidez versus Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. We're gonna talk about who I think is gonna win. I'm gonna ask my audience who they think is gonna win. We're gonna talk about some other potential fights to close out the 2023 year. Ryan Garcia's next opponent. We're gonna unfold all that stuff, man. We're gonna talk about what Charlo should do next, and we're gonna unfold all of that. So let's get started, y'all. Let's get started. Hold on. All right. You know what I'm saying? I gotta roll up the remedy. You know what I'm saying? I gotta roll up the remedy. So let's talk about. We're gonna start with who Canelo next opponent should be. You know what I'm saying? I've heard a lot of names thrown out there about who Canelo Alvarez next opponent should be. You know what I'm saying? And to me, there's only 5 options. Like, to me, it's not that many options. You know what I'm saying? To me, there's a lot of people who might think there's a lot of options out there for Canelo. But to me, at 31 years old, you've already beaten a lot of people. There's not too many options left. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna give y'all my list of options, and then y'all can leave y'all comments on who y'all think he should potentially fight. But obviously, I'm gonna throw out the list from the number 1 guy I think he should fight to the least guy he should fight from 1 to 5. So number 1 being David Benavidez. I think no brainer. Canelo Alvarez next opponent should be David Benavidez. I feel like David Benavidez has been calling Canelo out for about 2 years now. You know, at first I didn't know if David Benavidez had the experience or if he was good enough to beat Canelo. But then watching him beat up his opponents over time, stopping Romero, Alexis Angulo, and then seeing Edgar Berlanga struggle with him having to bite his ear. Seeing that, I knew that he was great. And then seeing David Benavidez knock out Lemieux in 3 rounds. And then after Lemieux, he fights Caleb Plant in his biggest fight to date. And although David Benavidez started really slow in that fight, I thought Caleb Plant won the first 4 rounds. Once David got comfortable, got his feet wet, Caleb started to fade, and Benavidez beat the living hell out of Caleb Plant. And I thought he won the last 7 rounds. And it was a dominating performance by David Benavidez. Oh snap! Hold on, y'all. I gotta update my bad, y'all. My bad, y'all. Damn. All right. I think we got everything good. All right. So yeah, he beats David Lemieux in 3 rounds, knocks him out. Then he fights Caleb Plant in his biggest fight to date. All right. He loses the first 4 rounds to Caleb Plant, and then he really puts a beating on Caleb Plant. Really dominates the fight from there on out and gets an easy victory. So from there on out, we know David Benavidez is elite. So David Benavidez is the number 1 guy I think Canelo should fight next. That's the number 1 guy on my list as his next opponent. Number 2 on the list, if not David Benavidez, in my opinion, should be the rematch with Dimitri Bivol. I feel like Canelo, you heard what he said after the fight. He said that no one could beat this version of Canelo. He's the best. Well, I like when fighters put their money where their mouth is. He just said it, right? So to me, the number 2 options should be Dimitri Bivol. But as you and any other real boxing fan out there knows, he will never fight Dimitri Bivol again. Demetrius Bivol doesn't sell tickets. No one knows his name. He's a beast. Hard fight to win. And Canelo just will not go that route again. So we know that's not going to happen. The third guy on my list, I really don't want to make this guy third, but just from like a casual standpoint, everyone's been talking about it. So you know what? I mean, if people really want to see it that bad, then you know I'm not objective to it. And that's Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez. That's my third option. The reason I would I say Canelo versus Terrence Crawford would be third is because to me, Bud started his career at 135. Canelo started his career at 154. And to me, Canelo's just a way naturally bigger guy than Bud Crawford. Even though I think Bud has more skill than Canelo, I just feel like it would be a lot for Bud to overcome. He'll get hit with a couple of those body shots by Canelo, and he might run the whole fight just like Charlo, man. I have no idea. You know, I've never seen Bud be in the ring with a guy that big and that powerful like Canelo. So I wouldn't want to see Bud lose because that's one of my favorite fighters. So that's not a fight that I'm calling for immediately. But, you know, a lot of casuals out there really want to see that fight. So maybe it's a fight that needs to happen. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's one of those fights that needs to happen. You know what I'm saying? Fourth on my list would probably be Jermall Charlo. I don't want to see that. I actually scratch that. Jermall Charlo is not number 4 on my list. Let me really sit back and think about all the 168ers and 175ers that he could fight. I'm gonna be honest. My number 4 guy on the list is Chris Eubanks Jr. The way Chris Eubanks Jr. just came back from getting stopped by Liam Smith, and then the way he dominated this past fight, I would like to see Chris Eubanks Jr. versus Canelo Alvarez. I would favor Canelo, but I think Chris Eubanks Jr. would give Canelo hell and everything that he's looking for in a tough battle. That is a fight that I am calling for, man. Chris Eubanks Jr. versus Canelo Alvarez for sure. That would be number 4 on my list. And then obviously number 5 would be the Canelo Caleb Plant rematch. I think Caleb Plant, you know, he's been he slapped the hell out of Jermall Charlo. We know Caleb Plant has a chip on his shoulder being a white boy from Memphis, Tennessee. Or is it Nashville, Tennessee? He got a chip on his shoulder. I got respect. I got a lot of respect for Caleb Plant. And I wouldn't totally mind seeing a rematch with him and Canelo, but I just think we've seen the same story with Caleb Plant too often. He fades in the late rounds, and you can't fade with Canelo. Canelo is a powerful fighter. So yeah, those are the top 5 guys: Benavidez, Bivol, Crawford, Eubank, and Caleb Plant rematch. The question is, who will Canelo choose next? You know what I'm saying? Like, I could throw out the list of names of guys that I want him to fight next. But I don't know if he's going to fight those guys next. You know what I'm saying? Like, he may or may not fight those guys next. That's something we're going to have to find out. Y'all. I think, based on seeing Canelo's performance, I'm going to be honest. A lot of people ask me, what do you think of Canelo's performance against Charlo on Saturday night? I thought Canelo's performance, I rated it a B+ out of a B+. I gave it like an 8 out of 10. I thought he looked a lot better in this fight than he did against Ryder. But then again, you have to ask yourself, even John Ryder was trying to win more than Jermall Charlo. It was unfortunately sad how much of an egg Jermall Charlo laid on Saturday night. He did not try to win that fight, y'all. I've never seen a mega fight where one of the fighters didn't try to win the fight even a little bit. It was insane. It was insane to watch. And now, you know what I'm saying? Now we got to see what's next. But we're going to get into, so we know that Canelo, after the fight, he really feels like he's the best. He feels like he's the best version of himself right now. How could Canelo Alvarez feel like he's the best version of himself right now? He fought a guy at 154 and couldn't stop him. I don't know how many times I got to express that. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't stop him. But we're going to get into David Benavidez and Demetrius Andrade. Y'all know how excited I am about this fight. I'm a huge Demetrius Andrade fan. I want to see David Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez. So I have real mixed emotions in this fight in November. You know what I'm saying? I have real mixed emotions in this fight. And as a boxing fan, I'm telling y'all, we are not getting cheated. We are getting as a boxing fan, you either know or you don't know. And a lot of my friends do not know about Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. A lot of my friends don't even know about David Benavidez. So casuals won't know about this fight, but real boxing fans know that this is elite versus elite. And the fact that the winner is Canelo's mandatory makes it just that much more spicy. Let's get into it, man. I'm not a big guy on superstition or luck or whatever, but Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade cut off his dreads after having him for 4 or 5 years, being in the biggest fight of his career, fighting David Benavidez. I'm telling y'all, Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade is locked in. We're talking about a former bronze medalist in the Olympics. Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade is all that in a bag of chips. I'm telling y'all, he is awkward. He's a tremendous boxer, and he's got some power. Benavidez is a monster, but Benavidez has not been in with a guy this clever. Caleb Plant is not Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. But yeah, it's gonna be crazy. So people have been asking me, what are my predictions in the Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade versus David Benavidez fight? And quite honestly, my prediction is, if this fight would have happened 2 years ago, if Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade was getting consistent work with consistent elite guys, I would pick Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade to upset David Benavidez. I truly would. I think he's the better boxer. I think he's awkward. And I think David Benavidez's lack of experience with elite guys would play a huge role in this fight with Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. However, Demetrius had a year layoff, didn't get any fights with anybody. Then he comes back and he fights a tough journeyman in Damon Nicholson. He goes to full 10. Andrade was so rusty that Nicholson knocked him down. They called it a slip, but it was a knockdown nonetheless. He really caught him. So when I look at all of that and I put all that into perspective, and you're getting knocked out by a guy like Damon Nicholson, who's a tough guy, a lot of respect for Damon, but journeyman. And what do I expect against David Benavidez? If you're getting knocked down by Damon Nicholson, then I have to expect that eventually David Benavidez's power will wear on Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. It just seems to make sense. Unless Demetrius Andrade can establish a beautiful jab from the early and opening bell and really get Benavidez off of him and get him frustrated and try to really get him there. I mean, it's possible, you know what I'm saying? Caleb did it for 4 rounds, but he couldn't establish enough power behind that jab. Let's see if Demetrius has enough power. People have said that Demetrius has some power. That's why this, from a stylistic standpoint, you got a awkward boxer, lefty southpaw, versus a straight brawler, monster, combination punching, knockout hitting monster in David Benavidez. This is a fight to watch. Elite versus elite. I'm predicting Benavidez by decision, and I think after that, I think Benavidez will probably make an announcement and call Canelo out, because I mean, enough is enough. And I think we'll get the Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez fight that we all are searching for and hoping for. You know what I mean? We all want that fight at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? David Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez is just a fight that has to happen, man. I mean, you got to understand what that would mean. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Besides Emmanuel Navarrete versus Oscar Valdez, we haven't had a Mexican versus Mexican war in boxing in a long time. Not a meaningful one, at least. You know, I mean, it's one thing of 2 Mexican journeyman fight. That doesn't mean anything. I'm talking about 2 elite Mexican fighters in their prime going toe-to-toe for something that means something. We haven't had a fight like that in years. So to me, David Benavidez versus Canelo, it has to happen. You know, I love the Emmanuel Navarrete Oscar Valdez fight. That was a great fight, great little preview. You had a little Morales versus Barrera, you know, tributes to. It had similarities. It was a war, but Benavidez versus Canelo is a fight that has to happen, man. And I think we'll get it. I think we will get it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there's too many places Canelo can run. You know what I'm saying? Like, Canelo cannot run. He don't have too many. Where can Canelo go? You know what I'm saying? He's got 2 fights left with PBC. 2. And to me, with 2 fights left on PBC, he called out the Jamal Charlo. But you have to remember, if Jamal doesn't want to fight, then Jamal's not going to fight. I heard Jamal's about to get in the ring with Jose Benavidez Jr. So to me, Canelo doesn't have many options. I told you he has about 5 options, but in reality, I don't think the Caleb Plant rematch is realistic. And I don't think the Chris Eubank Jr. fight is even realistic. It is realistic, but it actually is realistic because Canelo has this track record of beating up little guys right now. And Eubank is a, 160 pounder. He just won, came off a huge revenge tour victory. I could see Canelo easily calling out Eubank, you know, and if he fought Eubank, I mean, that would be a good fight, man. You know what I'm saying? I just don't know if Eubank has the power to beat Canelo. So that would be my concern with Eubank versus Canelo. I think Benavidez has the power to, you feel me, really bother Canelo. And that's what it comes down to. Because if you can't bother Canelo and Canelo's coming forward, Canelo's virtually unstoppable unless you're such a great boxer like Mayweather that you can get out of small corners and you still counter. And not many fighters can do what Mayweather can do. So Canelo is, you know, a tough, tall task for any elite fighter out there. You know what I mean? There's during the fight, you know what I'm saying? We saw Terrence Crawford sitting next to Jamal with the girls and stuff. Thought that was funny that he was sitting next to his rival. You know what I'm saying? He even tweeted out that Jermell Charlo sad while he was sitting next to his brother. I find that really funny. Terrence Crawford is a real one for that. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm a huge Terrence Crawford fan. Man, Derek James has been taking a lot of L's, y'all. Earl Spence, now Charlo. Joshua didn't look good. Frank Martin pulled out of a fight. I mean, Jesus Lord. Derek James went from being the coach of the year to having a bad 2023, to say the least. I mean, this has just been a walkie year of boxing, man. I'm not going to blame Derek James. You can't blame Derek James for Charlo's dud performance. You cannot. You got to blame Derek James for the Earl Spence performance, though, I think. You know what I'm saying? Not completely, but partial blame. I think they should have watched a little more tape and known what Terrence Crawford is like, but I don't think Earl had any tools in his toolbox to beat Terrence Bud Crawford either in any way. Speaking of Earl Spence versus Terrence Bud Crawford, let's talk about that real quick. A lot of my friends want to see a rematch at 154. A lot of people are calling for Earl Spence to fight Terrence Bud Crawford again at 154. Do I want to see the rematch between Terrence Bud Crawford and Earl Spence at 154? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, man. My thing is, Earl got beat up so bad to the point where he may never be the same as a fighter again. And I think people aren't taking that into consideration. And I'm going to give you a good example now so that you guys can really sit down and think about how sometimes fighters are never the same from a bad beating. Think about Yordenis Ugas, a fighter that I love a lot. Yes, he's 38 years old. I understand that. But just think about how good, I think it was 2020 when he beat Manny Pacquiao. Think about how good Yordenis Ugas looked in that fight in 2020 against Manny Pacquiao. Picked the biggest win of his career. Yordenis Ugas looked fresh. He looked sharp. He looked like an elite fighter in his weight class. Then he fought Errol Spence coming off of a motorcycle crash. Errol Spence looked phenomenal and basically fractured Yordenis Ugas' orbital, right? And Ugas took some real time off because he was damaged bad in that fight. He took 17 months off. He comes back from a 17-month layoff. That's a year and a half. And he fights a natural 140-pounder in Mario Barrios, a tough Aztec warrior. And I knew going in, this is a tough fight. This is going to say a lot about Ugas. I said, if Ugas loses to Barrios, he's done. He's done. And a lot of people agreed with me. And what happened? His punch resistance was virtually not there. He won a couple rounds in the beginning. I thought I gave Ugas 1 round, maybe 2. Barrios dominated that fight. Ugas did go to hole 12, but his eye looked fractured again. I mean, Mario Barrios put a beating on him. And then after the fight, Ugas announced that he was retired and that he was done from boxing, and his family wanted him to call it quits. And I respect it. Ugas realizes his punch resistance isn't there. He's not the same anymore. And it's just time to call it quits. And you got to protect your fighter, man. At the end of the day, you want your fighter to go home to their kids, their family, you know, and walk another day, live another day. And you know, that's what it's about, man. Making money, feeding your family, and surviving, and then living life. You know, that's what they fight for. They don't fight. I mean, they love this stuff, but at the end of the day, there's a reason they're doing this. And I don't think that Earl, who's made more than enough money in his career, has anything to prove. The only thing he could prove at this point is that he's going to get back in the ring with Bud Crawford, and he's going to be too smart for his own good, and he's going to get some real brain damage fighting him in a rematch. So all those people out there calling for the Errol Spence Crawford rematch, just really sit down and think about it. If you care about Errol Spence, do you really want to see that rematch? And as for Bud Crawford, he's an elite fighter, man. I want to see Bud Crawford chase greatness. See if he can do what Mayweather did. Can he beat Canelo? You know, Mayweather was a lot smaller than Canelo as well. Let's be honest. I know it was early in his career. Canelo's gotten a lot bigger since then. But let's see if Crawford can do something amazing, you know. I don't know if we'll ever see that fight, but let's see what Crawford does next. You know, maybe he could fight Charlo. There's a lot of options out there for Terrence Bud Crawford. You know what I mean? But Errol Spence is not it. I don't know why people are calling for that fight. November is going to be a great month for boxing. I haven't really heard too much for October. So we're here in October now. I think October is going to be a kind of a dead month for boxing. But then in November, we have Shakur Stevenson versus Edwin De Los Santos and Demetrius Andrade and David Benavidez. I mean, just those 2 fights alone, I think November is going to be arguably the best month of boxing. I mean, we had Gervonta in May. We had Crawford in July and Stephen Fulton and Inoue. But you can make an argument that Andrade and Benavidez and Shakur De Los Santos might just be 2 great fights. I'm telling y'all, I know Edwin De Los Santos and Andrade don't have huge names, and a lot of people don't know these guys, but I'm telling y'all that these fights might actually exceed expectations, because the Fulton Inoue fight was a dud. It was a one-sided fight. So was the Crawford. Spence, and then the Charlo Canelo fight was weak. So I really think with Andrade and Benavidez, and then Shakur and De Los Santos, we might get 2 really good fights there. Because one thing about De Los Santos is I don't think he's going to run from Shakur. I think he's going to come to fight. Shakur might stop De Los Santos. I can't wait to see that fight. And then with Andrade and Benavidez, I have no idea what to expect in that fight. I want to know if Benavidez is going to break down, or if Bubu's just so great of a boxer that he's going to find a way to beat the monster. Like, that's something that we got to figure out. You know what I mean? So we got some great fights in November. I'm very excited. And yeah, I mean, boxing is in great hands, y'all. Boxing is in great hands, man. I don't know if y'all saw Kermel Moton, the 17-year-old prodigy that Mayweather signed. He made his pro debut after Charlo. And let me just say this about Carmel Moulton. That kid is going to be special. I know it's early in his career. He's only 1-0, but I mean, I see something great in that kid. That kid is gonna be nice, man. He's got a little bit of Shakur boxing skill in him. He got a little bit of Tank fire in him. I mean, he's a boxer, puncher, speed. Man, this kid is gonna be. I think he's fights at 130 pounds. Man, he is a problem at 130 pounds. He eventually might move up to 135. When Tank and Shakur are on their way out, he'll be on his way in, man. He's 7 years younger than Shakur. That's crazy to think about. So, yeah, man, Carmel Moulton is a great fighter. Mayweather said he's going to make him a millionaire in 2 years. What do y'all think about that? I think Mayweather the thing about Mayweather, he did this with Tank. He needs to stop making it so about himself all the time. I think that's why his fighters end up feuding them, and because it's their time. Mayweather needs to realize that this is Carmel's time. It was Tank's time. So Mayweather needs to stop making it about himself. Everybody knows Mayweather's the GOAT. Well, he don't need to feel insecure about nothing. So I don't know why he do that. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Carmel Moulton is going to be a dog. I think he'll be a champion one day. I truly do. And that's going, you feel me? He gonna really change the landscape of boxing. Yeah, I think boxing's in good hands. A lot of people out there are saying boxing is in bad hands. A lot of my friends who don't watch boxing regularly were very, very upset when they saw the Charlo versus Canelo fight. You know what I'm saying? They thought it was a waste of time. I knew what to expect. I knew my predictions are always very accurate, and I knew that Charlo was going to run and go the distance. And it was not going to, I definitely thought Charlo was going to fight more than he did. You know, he had brief moments. I'm going to go back and watch that fight later tonight, as a matter of fact. But it was a terrible fight, all in all. Canelo, it was just a homecoming show for Canelo Alvarez. Just a total waste of time. I'm very curious to see who Teofimo Lopez is going to fight next. Yo, what up, Joseph? What up, Joseph? What's up, my boy? I'm just talking about right now how, you feel me, basically we got David Benavidez versus Boo Boo Andrade. What's your prediction on that fight, man? I want to know the prediction on that fight. Charlo came for a check straight up, man. Like that man laid a straight egg. I'm no longer a Charlo fan. I don't want to hear about this dude the rest of the year. Like, I don't care who he fights, because after what he did, man, I mean, dude, I just lose all respect for him, because he's a smack talker. One thing you got to say about Adrian Broner is he talked his smack, but he never laid down. He had a great chin. He lost fights, but man, he came to fight at the end of the day. That's why I respect Adrian Broner. Charlo is a fraud, straight fraud, man. Those fighters from Texas been taking big L's lately. You said I got Benavidez by unanimous decision. I think Andrade's best days are at 154, 160. But Andrade is a big 168, man. If you pay attention, Andrade, he's been looking real big. He's been looking real big. I think November is gonna be the best month of boxing, low key. Like, I was just saying how that July we had Stephen Fulton Inoue, but that fight was one-sided. It really wasn't what people thought it was going to be. Same with Spence and Crawford. Crawford dominated Earl Spence. I feel like in November we're getting two elite fights that might be closer than people expect in Boo Boo Andrade and David Benavidez. I think Boo Boo Andrade is going to give Benavidez, from a stylistic standpoint, problems early. He's a lefty. He's 6'1". He's awkward. He's got amateur pedigree. He was a bronze medalist in the Olympics. I'm telling you, Boo Boo might not have that many good opponents on his resume, but he's a big 168, even though he started at 154. He's big, man, and he's tough, and he's got some power, way more than Caleb Plant. And if Benavidez just thinks it's going to be easy, that's where he'll fuck up at. But if Benavidez comes in with a strong, good game plan, I think he can wear Andre down in the late rounds, because Andre, I mean, let's be honest. I was just talking about this. Andrade in his last fight in the ring, he fought Damon Nicholson, a journeyman, and they called it a slip, but Damon Nicholson caught him and he knocked him down. And if he's getting knocked down by a guy like Damon Nicholson, who got beat by Edgar Berlanga, then I mean, what's David Benavidez going to do, you know? So you got to look at it like that. And I mean, in that regard, I agree with you, Joseph. I think Benavidez will win by unanimous decision. I think he'll figure it out in the late rounds. I'm pulling for Demetrius, but I have mixed emotions because I want to see Canelo Benavidez. So I think I still want to see Benavidez Canelo. So I'm pulling for Benavidez, even though I want to see Boo Boo go the distance, man. I do not want him to get knocked out. I love Boo Boo, man. I want Boo Boo to fight so well that he gets an opportunity elsewhere. You know what I mean? So, because he hasn't gotten an opportunity, and I respect the hell out of Benavidez because he's the only fighter out there that gave Boo Boo a chance. You know what I mean? Real. Shout out to David Benavidez, one of the realest fighters in the game. Yeah, man. Charlo is a dud. Charlo is a straight dud. But I want to know who Teofimo Lopez is gonna fight next. Like, for real, like, who's he gonna fight? You know, I was at the fight in Madison Square Garden when he beat Josh Taylor. He beat the hell out of Josh Taylor. Like, man, everyone was doubting him. I bet on Teofimo. I couldn't believe he was +1. Man, it was crazy. But I want to know who Teofimo Lopez is gonna fight next. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of names out there that we can mention. I'm thinking about Teofimo Lopez. You said, I hope David Morrell gets a fight soon. I like him a lot. He's got great skills. Yeah, David Morrell is a hell of a fighter, man. David Morrell is a beast, man. He's only 9 fights in. You know how those Cubans are. I mean, they have a lot of amateur pedigree. So, I mean, they come in early and they're always ready. You know what I'm saying? They fight to their 40s. And Morrell, I think, is in his 20s. So he's actually a young Cuban. I'm really excited about David Morrell. I'm not even going to lie to you. That's a fighter that David Benavidez doesn't even want to see. Because Morrell is dangerous, man. As for Morrell's got to take what he can get right now. That's how I look at it. Morrell is 9-0 with 8 knockouts. He's early in his career. Even though he's a beast, and I think he's up there with all the elite names in his weight class, I think you have to be realistic. He's gonna be the one to get the short end of the stick. I mean, he's only 9 fights in my opinion. I mean, who does he fight? You know what I'm saying? He's not gonna get the Canelo fight. Benavidez is so strong on the Canelo fight. He's about to fight Boo Boo. I mean, who does Morrell fight next? I think Morrell takes the best option he can get. You know, I mean, there's a lot of options out there for Morrell. Who wants to fight Morrell? Nobody. Trust me. No one wants to fight Morrell. I was gonna say maybe Caleb Plant, but I mean Caleb Plant's taken enough beatings in his life. Does he really want to fight David Morrell? He'll get his ass whooped. You know what I mean? So that's not a good fight for Caleb Plant. I say we wait and see. Dave Morrell's probably gonna build up his resume a little bit more, fight a couple more twigs and beat him up, get some more knockouts, and then by the time Morrell's like 15-0, we'll be talking about because I think by then Benavidez will have already beaten Canelo. Canelo will be on his way out, and then we'll be talking about David Morrell versus David Benavidez in the future, and then it'll be 2 monsters going at it. You see what I'm saying? That's what I see. That's probably like 2025, 2026. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking in the future, but I don't like to do that. I don't like to talk speculation. You know, that's all hypothetical. Jermell should retire. He made a big bag. Might as well. Man, I don't have Jermell Charlo, man. He should definitely retire. He's terrible. I mean, look what he did, man. Like I was on the phone with my friend. He was like, "Yeah, bro. Like I feel like Jermell Charlo. You know, he wasn't himself, man. He wasn't his best version of himself. You got one chance to fight the best. He had his one opportunity to fight Canelo Alvarez. You was talking all that smack. This is your chance to shine. You don't get more than one chance. This is the last chance, and at the very least, you have to at least make an impression. If you lose, he made a horrible impression. The man ran the whole fight. Come on, man. So we all know." No one wants to see Jermell Charlo. The only fight that I'll be willing to see Jermell Charlo in next is Tim Tszyu. Because if he goes back down to 154, which I don't think he's going to go back down. I think he was capping about going back down to 154. Y'all do understand when you move up to 168, how hard it is to go back down to 154 at 31 years old, right? He's capping. He's straight capping. He's not going back down to 154. I swear. Charlo's straight cap. I don't respect the dude. I don't believe anything the man says. He's straight cap. He puts on a good act though, man. He just got paid. That's what it's about. He got his money. Once Canelo retires, boxing will be better off. Yeah, man. I'm not a huge Canelo fan. I mean, he's a great body puncher. He's got so much power. He's gotten so much better over the years. He's taken a cliff now. Clearly, he's digressed since the first Golovkin win. But you know what I'm saying? Canelo had a great career. I'm never going to be a fan of Canelo, but he had a great career at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it'll be so much better off once he's gone, man. He's a drugs cheat. He's not an honest fighter. He ducks a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? He puts an illusion to the public, especially casuals. Casuals think that Canelo's better than he actually is. So I agree with you, Joseph. I hope Brian Mendoza pulls it off against Tim Tszyu. Me too, man. Me too. I like Tim Tszyu. You know, I have nothing against Tim Tszyu. I loved his dad, Costa Tszyu. He put his beating on Zab Judah, if y'all remember that. But I just feel like Brian Mendoza, I'm going to be honest with you. I like Sebastian Fundora. I feel like he got lucky against. If you were watching that fight against Sebastian Fundora, then you saw that Brian Mendoza was losing every single round to Sebastian Fundora. The problem is Sebastian Fundora is a skinny 6'6" junior middleweight who fights on the inside. He doesn't even use his reach to his advantage. He fights on the inside. So Mendoza caught him after losing every round, and he knocked him out. And he got the biggest win of his career, and now he's fighting Tim Tszyu, and he has a chance to do something incredible, which I don't think he's going to do. I like Tim Tszyu to win that fight. But man, speaking of Fundora, what happened? What happened to Fundora? He got knocked out. I don't think he'll ever be the same. I liked Fundora, man, a lot. I thought we might get him versus Charlo at one point, but Fundora got knocked out, man. I don't think he's gonna get back up to that elite point again. Fresh BX, what up, Fresh BX? Thanks for tuning in too. Andrade upsetting everything once he beats Benavidez. Then we coming for Redhead, all the belts. And we might be up on Charlo on our way. I'm gone. Hey, Fresh BX, I ain't gonna lie. I'm a huge Andrade fan. I've been a huge Andrade fan my whole life, man. You know what I'm saying? I really rock with Demetrius Boo Boo. I think I was just telling Joseph, I think that he could definitely pull off the upset. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's possible. David Benavidez has not been in the ring with a guy like Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade is a southpaw. He's awkward. He's hard to hit. You know what I'm saying? And he's got Olympic pedigree. Dude's a beast, man. Demetrius Boo Boo Andre's a beast. There's a reason why he's avoided. There's a reason why Canelo, the redhead that you're talking about, has been avoiding Boo Boo his whole career. You know what I mean? So you're absolutely right. I disagree with you. I think Benavidez is gonna win the fight. I'm pulling for Andre, but you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's going to be a great fight, man. I can't wait, man. That's the fight. I'm telling y'all, that's the fight, y'all. That's going to be the fight that doesn't disappoint, I think. I really think that's going to be the one. I'm hoping. I'm really hoping. But yeah, David Benavidez has to work on starting faster. I mean, against Caleb Plant, he kind of got exposed. You know what I'm saying? Caleb Plant exposed that David Benavidez doesn't have a great jab. He really looks to set up them power punches and them combinations. And it takes Benavidez a long time to get right. You know what I'm saying? And in boxing, if a fighter goes the distance, you don't want to give up too many rounds. You know what I'm saying? You don't ever want to give up too many rounds in boxing. So that's something David has to work on. And he said he's been working on it a lot in camp. You know what I'm saying? He picked the hardest opponent possible, Demetrius Boo Boo Andre, man. I mean, I respect, I don't know how many times I'm going to say it. You have to respect fighters like that are willing to go as crazy as take that type of risk. You know what I'm saying? Canelo Alvarez hasn't done that his whole career. You know what I'm saying? Other than when he fought Mayweather, and he did that to get to beat a cash cow. So he's not slick. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, a lot of people have been asking me about Nayu Inoue. I don't care about Nayu Inoue. We're not talking about Nayu Inoue, but I just wanted to bring him up real quick. Don't care about him. You know what I'm saying? I think Nayu Inoue, at the end of the day, is in a weak weight class. He's in a weak division. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, Nayu Inoue, he beat the piss out of Stephen Fulton. I couldn't believe how one-sided that fight was. I ain't gonna lie, like that's crazy. Like since then, Stephen Fulton been posting pictures of him with jewelry and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he really need to redeem himself. I ain't gonna lie. We need more Inoue bashing because it's funny making his fans mad. That's what I said, man. First of all, Inoue's fans are ridiculous, man. I don't know what's wrong with Inoue's fans, yo. Like, they really be on his tip. Like, I think they don't understand that Inoue. First of all, the man need to come fight in the United States. Let's be honest. Like, the man needs to come fight in the United States. He been fighting in Japan the last 6 years. Like, that's cool. Like, you could beat up people in your home state where you're making them eat your food for 3 weeks. Like, that's a real home field advantage. Come fight in the United States. And, you know, he fought in the United States once, but he fought against a guy that he knew he was going to beat, man. Man, I don't want to hear about that. I want to see him fight someone elite. All the greats move up in weight. And we know that there's no one that could test Naoya Inoue at 126. There's no one that could really test him at 130 either. Maybe at 130. But actually, now with Carmel Moulton in town, I ain't going to lie. Carmel Moulton in town, we got somebody who could definitely test him at 130. Naoya Inoue don't want no smoke with Carmel Moulton. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying that he's 17 years old. Carmel Moulton would smoke Naoya Inoue. I will put money on that. You know what I'm saying? But we'll never see that. But yeah, F Naoya Inoue, F his fans. They all lame. And Naoya Inoue is a drugs cheat, and he needs to come fight the United States. And until he does, he will not get the credit he deserves on my channel. You know what I'm saying? I have people saying that he's top 10 ever. I have people on my phone saying he's top 5 ever. There's people on my phone saying he's better than Roy Jones, Terrence Crawford, Floyd Mayweather. I mean, the audacity. Naoya Inoue will never be better than any of those fighters. That is ridiculous. When you hear things like that, you just have to ignore it. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Naoya Inoue will never sniff those guys. You know what I'm saying? Did y'all see Carmel Moulton's debut? I talked about it earlier on my channel. No, y'all weren't in on my live yet when I talked about Carmel Moulton. I'm telling y'all, Carmel Moulton, he's got a little bit of Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis in him. This guy, I mean, I'm really big on Carmel Moulton. I think this kid's gonna be something special, man. I think he's gonna be special. He fights at 130. I think he's gonna dominate the 130-pound division. You heard Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather called out Lee Wood right away. Lee Wood's a champion, man. Lee Wood just beat what's that guy's name? Forget the guy's name. He's not even worth mentioning because he won the first fight. Mauricio Lara. He's a bum, by the way. But Lee Wood beat Mauricio Lara. He's a champion. I think Carmel Moulton he would run through the 130-pound division. I think Carmel Moulton's so good, he's going to have to eventually move up to 135. He's just going to dominate 130. You know what I mean? Hopefully Carmel Moulton fights a live opponent in a few years. Yeah, man, I want to see him on TV. I think Showtime and all the networks were really bogus for just cutting his fight off right after the Charlo fight. They should have had like a, you know what I'm saying, like a fight. They should have just had a special little preview fight because Carmel Moulton is that special. But I guess it was one of those things. It's hard to put him on TV right after a big fight like that. You know, it's difficult to do things like that in boxing. But yeah, man. I mean, I'm trying to think what other fights there are out there. I mean, they got Alexander Usyk versus Tyson Fury. What's your opinion on that? What's your opinion on Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk, man? I predicted Usyk's gonna win that fight. A lot of people disagree with me. I think Usyk, and I have a good reason why Usyk's gonna win that fight over Tyson Fury. I feel like Alexander Usyk, you feel me? He's fought in the better opponents recently. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you said you got Fury beating Usyk. Is it because he's the bigger guy? You know what I'm saying? You know, he's the much bigger guy, and obviously he dominated Deontay Wilder 3 times. So you said Dubois exposed Usyk. Man, okay. So I mentioned it. I talked about it on one of my videos on my channel. But in my opinion, Usyk got knocked out by Daniel Dubois. That was a body shot that landed. They called it a low blow. It was absolutely not a low blow. It was a knockout. They cheated Daniel Dubois. That being said, I still think Alexander Usyk is a great fighter. And Daniel Dubois has pop, man. Dude's like 260. And I mean, he can punch, man. He's not a great boxer, but dude can punch. And I think that, I don't know, man. I think that the reason why I'm picking Usyk to beat Fury is because Usyk has fought Dubois. Usyk has fought Joshua twice. And I just feel like Fury, since Wilder, I mean, he's fought Dillian White, he's fought Chisora, and then he's about to fight an MMA fighter. And I feel like that lack of elite fighters in the ring with him recently is going to affect Tyson Fury, man. He's getting older. You know what I'm saying? The fact that Usyk is 6'2" and he's slick, I think it's a weird style for him. It's a weird style for him. It's a hard fight to predict, though, man. That's a fight for 2024. The heavyweight division sucks, y'all. You know, I really like Jared Anderson. They're building him up slower than I thought they would. It's taking him a while. He hasn't fought anyone elite. He hasn't fought anyone elite, and it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? I want to see Jared Anderson fight. I was saying maybe Jared Anderson versus Daniel Dubois. Does Daniel Dubois have the courage to fight Jared Anderson? Do y'all think Jared Anderson has he shown enough to get in the ring with a guy like Daniel Dubois? You know, he struggled with Charles Martin. I think Charles Martin and Daniel Dubois are similar levels. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Dubois is a smidge better. Usyk is 36. He is definitely slipping, in my opinion. Yeah, Usyk definitely doesn't look as good as he did in the Joshua fight. But I still think he's great. But like I said, the heavyweight division is weak, man. It's really up for grabs. Jared Anderson could really be the man for the taking, but I think Jared Anderson might have a suspect chin, y'all. I'm here to say it. I think his chin might be a little suspect, and I think we saw Frank Sanchez on the preliminaries as well. That's another fight. Jared Anderson versus Frank Sanchez, but one's with PBC, one's with Top Rank. That's hard to make. I wasn't that impressed with Frank Sanchez, even though he got the stoppage in round 4. Like I said, man, the heavyweight division is it's cruddy right now, man. It's terrible. Right now, my favorite divisions are probably 168, 135, easily 135. 135 is balling right now. I like 140. I love 140. You got Teofimo, you got Haney, you got Regis, you got Rowley, you got Ryan Garcia. You know what I'm saying? Ryan Garcia's fighting some guy named Oscar. Help me out, y'all. Oscar something. He just announced it. It's a guy I've never heard of, really. I wonder if this guy's any good. I'm gonna look into his opponent, man. I was really hoping that Ryan Garcia was gonna fight a name that I'd heard of, so I could be excited. You know, Jared Anderson don't got the passion for boxing, bro. Yeah, I mean, he did say. I read something where he said he doesn't care if he's ever a champion. He just cares about getting the bag, and it's unfortunate. You know what I'm saying? And I think for those reasons, Jared Anderson will get knocked out in the heavyweight division eventually. The heavyweight division might be bad in your opinion, but I had to suffer during the Klitschko era. I mean, the Klitschko era. So when you say the Klitschko era, are we talking Vladimir Klitschko, Lennox Lewis, Chris Bird, Hasim Rahman, Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, Shannon Briggs, the list goes on, Jamil McCline, Oliver McCall. Are we talking about that? Are we talking about that era of heavyweights? Because if we're talking about that era of heavyweights, that era of heavyweights is so much better than this era of heavyweights, in my opinion. But if we're talking about, you know, like a little bit after that, like when Klitschko was fighting David Haye, and like Rockman and those guys were already kind of gone, Lewis, like when Klitschko was dominating bums for a while, like I think that was around like 2010, 2011. Then yeah, that was a horrible era for heavyweights. So let me know which era you're talking about, because if we're talking about early 2000s, that era was a beast. If we're talking about late like 2010 or 2011, that was a horrible era for heavyweights as well. Yeah, man, I'm not a fan of the heavyweight division, y'all. Like I said, my favorite division is the 135-pound division. I'm a huge Shakur Stevenson fan. We got to talk about Shakur Stevenson and Edwin De Los Santos. I feel like we haven't talked about Shakur Stevenson and Edwin De Los Santos once. We have not talked about that. We're going to talk about it right now. Edwin De Los Santos pulled up in Newark, New Jersey, man. Dude got a lot of balls, huh? He pulled up in the downtown though. So he doesn't really have that much balls. Shakur Stevenson might stop Edwin De Los Santos. I feel like Shakur Stevenson has a chip on his shoulder in this fight. Edwin has been talking so much smack. I feel like this fight is the most important fight in Shakur Stevenson's career to date. I mean, Yoshino wasn't that important to me. He fought Oscar Valdez. That was a big win, but I knew he was going to beat him. That was a 130-pounder. This fight versus Edwin De Los Santos, who's a beast, who knocked out Rayo Valenzuela, who beat the hell out of Joseph Adorno. This is going to be a fight, man. I'm telling you. And, man, I think Shakur's going to stop him. And when he does, I think after Shakur stops Edwin De Los Santos, I think people are going to have no choice but to say that Shakur Stevenson is right up there with anybody at 135, including Gervonta Davis. I don't care if Gervonta Davis is the face and he gets more knockouts. Shakur Stevenson could hang with anybody in that division, including Gervonta Davis. Late 2010, I meant. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. That division was terrible. I mean, that era of heavyweights was terrible. Who was there? Like, I don't even know who was there. There was like a little time in boxing where I like stopped watching for a while because it was so bad. I never was a fan of David Haye. I thought David Haye was overrated. Just the division was crap then, man. I mean, Klitschko just dominated for a long time. I liked Klitschko though. I thought Klitschko fought everybody, man. Klitschko's one of the best heavyweights ever. I'd put him in the top 20 ever. You know what I mean? Top 20 ever for sure. I'm telling y'all, man. Y'all gotta tune into that Edwin De Los Santos versus Shakur Stevenson fight. It's gonna be a great one, y'all. It's gonna be a great fight. Frank Martin is one of the biggest ducks in boxing. He ducked Shakur Stevenson, and this is why I respect Edwin De Los Santos, because he's actually getting in the ring with my boy, unlike Frank Martin. As for Frank Martin, I don't know who he's gonna fight next. I think Frank Martin needs to fight Keyshawn Davis. You know what I'm saying? I'd like to see Keyshawn whoop that boy. I was actually gonna cheer for Frank Martin in that fight, but now I'm 100% cheering for Keyshawn Davis in that fight if they ever fight. I'm definitely team Keyshawn. I'm never rocking with Frank Martin again after that. As far as I'm concerned, everybody in Derrick James' stable's been taking L's. Joshua, Garcia, Spence, now Charlo. Derrick James needs to bring out some new tools in the toolbox for 2024, because if he doesn't, man, people are going to say that he's been doing really bad as a trainer. And you can't put the blame on him, man. You have to put some of the blame on the fighters as well. You know what I mean? But, yeah, that's just how it goes. But, yeah, man, shoot, I'm probably be on here for about 10 more minutes. Wrap it up in about 10 more minutes. Let's see. 2023 has been rough for Derrick James. Yeah, man. Derrick James went from getting Coach of the Year in 2022 to probably having the roughest 2023 year for any coach in boxing, in my opinion. And it's been rough. Every time I see a fighter get beat, you see Derrick James and his bald head just in the background. Like, dang, like just taking L's, man. But bad L's too. Like the Charlo L was bad, real bad. And then the Spence L was even worse. So, and man. So like I said, man, I'm hoping for better for Derrick James. Who do y'all think Terrence Crawford should fight next? He's not gonna fight Canelo next. You know, I want that. I mean, that would be an interesting fight. But I want to know what y'all think. Who y'all think Terrence Crawford should fight next? I just hope Eddie Reynoso doesn't get Coach of the Year. He's a fraud. Eddie Reynoso is absolutely a fraud, man. All he works on is body punching. Eddie Reynoso, if you notice, all his fighters have terrible footwork. Why do you think Oscar Valdez couldn't get inside on Manuel Navarrete? He got beat up. Eddie Reynoso is so overrated, man. I'll be the first to tell y'all, I don't like Eddie Reynoso at all. Don't like him at all as a coach, but it is what it is with Eddie Reynoso. He's not going to get Coach of the Year, man. If they're not, I mean, you know it's real political, man, and he just got in some legal issues. But if everything goes and pans out the way it's supposed to, Chris Eubanks just picked up the biggest win against Liam Smith. Terrence Crawford just picked up the biggest win against Earl Spence. It's a no-brainer who the Coach of the Year of 2023 is. It's Bo Mack, Brian McIntyre, and I think he's going to get it. You know what I mean? He deserves it. He was by far the best coach of 2023. But you know it's political, man. Since he got in that legal issue, they might take it away from him and give it to somebody else. They might just give it to Eddie Reynoso just on some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, y'all. Man, probably be on here for about 8 more minutes. You know what I'm saying? Any more topics we can talk about? You think Crawford will rematch Spence again, man? But why though? Like why do you want to see that rematch? Like I don't want to see that rematch. Earl Spence got beat up. It don't matter if it's at 154, 160, 147 again. It does not matter. Terrence Crawford, Earl Spence has nothing in his toolbox to beat Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is too good for that boy. He's going to hurt him, put him in the hospital, and give him permanent brain damage. Yordenis Ugas may never be the same again after the beatings he's taken. Do you guys want to see Earl Spence be normal and be able to post on social media and be with his girl, or do y'all want to see him be a vegetable? You know, I know a lot of fighters, man. My dad used to manage former champion, well, not former champion, but fought for the title, Wilfredo Rivera, who was a great Puerto Rican fighter, fought Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, fought Oscar De La Hoya, fought everybody, Fernando Vargas. I was at that fight live, knocked Fernando Vargas down while he was sick. And now, you know, he stutters, you know what I'm saying? Like, so you wanna protect your fighters. I'm telling y'all, like, this ain't no joke. Boxing ain't no joke, man. And I just think the Earl Spence rematch versus Crawford is a ridiculous joke to call for. He has no chance at any weight class. But you know, I'll let people think what they think. And at the end of the day, Earl Spence is a warrior, and there's no other fight out there where he's gonna get a bigger payday. So I mean, and he's gonna activate it. So it is what it is, and we're gonna get it. I just really hope Derrick James puts a stop to it. I think that's the only person that could really stop Earl from doing it. Him and his team. I want to see Terrence Bud Crawford fight someone that's going to give him a challenge, pose a real threat to him. He's chasing greatness, man. So maybe Canelo versus Crawford is something we're going to get. Remember, it's a 3-fight deal on PBC. So he might set it up where Canelo might be if Canelo is strategic from a business standpoint, I don't like Canelo Alvarez, but what he might be thinking from a strategic standpoint, being the cash cow, he might fight Crawford first, considering he's the little guy. He might think he might have more of a chance in that fight. He might try to fight Crawford first. Crawford is not going to back down from a big fight like that. He'll take it immediately. No matter what, he'll make the weight. And Crawford will do it. I think it'll be a hard fight for Crawford to win. And then he'll fight Benavidez at the very end after he's already beaten. Because if he beats Crawford, it wouldn't matter if he lost to Benavidez. He'd be solidified for life. So that's kind of where I think Canelo's probably trying to go with it. We'll see what happens. I'm not calling for it, bro. It's in the contract. Yeah, it's definitely in the contract, man. I'm just saying though, man. Hopefully you agree with me that Derrick James should put a stop to it, because if Derrick James doesn't put a stop to it, Earl Spence may never be the same again, man. And that's what I don't want to see. You know, Earl Spence, I think at the very least should at least get a semi-tune-up fight. Maybe fight a Keith Thurman, you know, fight someone that you have a legitimate, easy chance to win against. Don't just step in the ring with Bud Crawford again, because that's gonna be like that's like suicide, man. It really is. But hey, man, I appreciate y'all tuning in, man. I really do, man. Y'all been great. I know my setup is real ghetto. I'm gonna get a mic. I'm gonna get everything, set up so that my lives could be a lot better. I'm gonna be going live a lot more frequently. I love talking boxing with y'all. You know what I'm saying? I be making videos and I love talking about the videos, but on the videos, it's hard to really analyze everything and talk about everything because I like making them short. Everybody got short attention spans and don't nobody want to hear long videos. So I can't really cover everything I want to in them videos that I edit. So when I go on live, I can talk to y'all about everything I want to talk about, and we could really chop it up on here and it be raw. So I really like getting on live, and I'm gonna do it more frequently, and I'm gonna get my setup a lot better probably in the next few months. So bear with me, you know what I'm saying? I work 2 jobs. It's all gonna happen. And make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe, tell y'all people to subscribe, and I love it, man. Thurman and Usyk can't take body punches. Yeah, Keith Thurman, I don't like Keith Thurman, man. But, at the end of the day, like I said, Earl Spence should not get back in the ring with Terrence Bud Crawford. So Keith Thurman versus Earl Spence, to me, is a fair fight, a good fight, a 50-50 fight. And I would love that fight. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man. All right, Joseph, man. All right, y'all. I'm gonna take off, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna be on, and I'm gonna make a video tomorrow, y'all. Boxing's been kind of dry for October, so that's why. Hopefully things pick up. But Jaden Burney, bro, I've been listening to you and I like what I heard, so I will be checking you out. I appreciate it, Jaden. I'm very consistent. I'll be talking about all the fights. You know what I'm saying? Everything we talk about everything. We unfold every division, all the fighters, all the big fights. You know what I'm saying? We even unfold fights that aren't so big. You know what I'm saying? So it's a good channel. It's only gonna get better, man. I'm gonna start interviewing fighters. I go to fights live. This is a real boxing channel. You know what I'm saying? So I just got to get my setup better, man. And over time, I'm telling y'all, if y'all support me, it's gonna all be worth it at the end of the day, man. But all right, y'all, it's late, man. I'm gonna get up out of here. Y'all hit that like button, subscribe, and peace.